Onion Cycles podcast is about thought-provoking, emotion-evoking, action-driven, step-by-step guidance to explore the unique, glorious, and wonderful ocean of your being. Because healing is a multi-layered process of getting to know oneself. Become the self-empowered empiric researcher by discovering the unique layers of your existence. With your host, Nadine Alma, welcome to the Holistic Healing Hub. Welcome to the Onion Cycles podcast. Hello and welcome back, my beloved healing, beautiful onions. I am honored that you tuned in again, that you decided to spend some of your time with me, with us here in this beautiful place of vulnerability, dedicated to our healing journeys, dedicated to celebrating our uniqueness, our wonder, our lives. And what a journey this last month has been. We have gone through 4 parts of one series called The Art of Love, mostly based on the 1950 essay by Erich Fromm of the name The Art of Loving. So if you haven't checked out that essay again, I don't get tired of repeating it to you. Please do. There is so much more in there than what we covered in the last 4 episodes, and I am just absolutely convinced and certain that if you go through this by yourself on your own, either reading or listening to it, I will put both links into the description box. You will get some very personal and unique to you values and epiphanies out of that. And with that said, welcome to story 13, episode 13. We are dedicating one more episode to love. I felt like I wanted to conclude this whole topic, that we obviously will go back and forth in it because it is just an impossibility to cover love in just 5 episodes. However, I haven't planned on doing a 5th episode or 5th part to conclude the series. When I was done, however, I felt no, this just needs to be done. There is a lot more I want to say. So this last part, if you will, is sort of a excursion into my own thoughts that came up while studying this essay, while doing the episodes, while editing. And I'll call that Story 13, Episode 13, Musings on Love. Love is the active concern for the life and growth of that which we love. I want to dive first into what we were talking about concerning romantic or erotic love. There were a few points that really triggered in me a train of thought that comes round full circle in how to implement and how to apply and practice love in an everyday situation with your partner, with your loved ones, and with the world as a whole in general. The points he makes in discerning how we go about finding love in a romantic way these days, and how everything is tying back to the strive to find union in the separateness we experience on this earth, in these bodies, then these premises that he states have just moved me deep inside. So, to refresh the memory, he talks about how we are rather falling versus staying in love, how we are more concerned with how to be lovable versus our own capacity to love, And finding the object to love is the hard part. Finding the one, love itself, is easy. And those three main premises on which we build our way of finding romantic love today have eye opening impacts if we really take what he says into our everyday observation. And this is what we do in this podcast, right? We are self empiric researchers on how we navigate our lives and how we live and experience and perceive our life. So, in observing our life, obviously, we come in contact with others because we are a species that lives and thrives within connection. So, observing ourselves and seeing how we behave in certain situations opens up the window to implement how we interact with love as well. If we go back to see and journal about how our romantic relationships thus far have played out and how these romantic relationships can be put into categories or how are they intersecting and mixing up the different categories, it really opens up this beautiful place, this beautiful opportunity to not only work on the relationship we're in now, but also going into a new relationship, see how this one could really be different than the ones we had before, where we weren't able to acquire, we weren't able to access this knowledge that we built up so far. Every romantic relationship we had so far has its own worth in our growing journey, in our healing journey. From now, though, we have this wonderful possibility of starting or improving what we have or will have or want to have with this knowledge based on how are we interacting with it. Am I just looking at, can I be lovable? Am I lovable? Do I have that sense of I want to bring something to the table and you bring something to the table, and in the end it's just a transaction? Is it me reflecting on the percentage of my own capacity to love? Can I even love? What do I bring to the table that speaks of love? How much do I understand of love? How much do I understand my partner? How much do I understand, does my partner understand me? Opening up this conversation with our partner or with the future spouse or the love interest in our lives right now and with whom we want to build a future can really make it blossom in ways and thrive in ways we haven't experienced so far. Because in doing so, in finding that conversation, we're doing exactly what I quoted from the essay just before, that love is the active, meaning we're in action, we're actively providing concern for the life and growth of that which we love, which is in both parts, ourselves and the other person. So just bringing this to the table and maybe even inviting your partner, your spouse, into this conversation by doing the exercises on the worksheet together and openly talking about it, talking about the fears that come up, talking about the triggers that come up, the trauma that might have come up for you in previous relationships or even in the actual relationship you're in right now, can induce so much healing, so much depth of trust, and probably will multiply the beauty and wonder that you live every day in your romantic relationship. And then I want to have a side disclaimer because I was feeling like he's very right. We believe that love is easy and finding the object to love, like the one, is hard. And I feel like this is such a good headline to have a whole different conversation about. Because what does that statement mean for us? Like, finding the one. First of all, it dismisses the imperative to nurture your own capacity to love. We need to nurture every kind of love. And if we're not able to love anyone else around us, including ourselves, then looking for the one is an absolute tragedy, because how is the other person supposed to love you truly and permanently and stay in love with you if you don't know yourself, if you don't love yourself, and if you interact with the world around you in an unloving way? Secondly, the premise of finding the one dismisses the infinity and unconditional love that encompasses all or none. Like I said, either you work on experiencing universal love for the tiniest of beings, for the environment, for the culture, for anyone who has a different opinion than you have, and open up your heart to listening, or you don't have the capacity to love at all. And obviously, this is a spectrum, and obviously, this is a journey. So we are not talking about you shouldn't have a relationship unless you have 100% of self-love and 100% of dedicated love for everyone. We're just talking about making something visible and graspable and scientifically, empirically touchable to further our own growth and further our own journey, and make sure that whatever life we touch in the future will be touched in the most loving, kind, and compassionate way, the same way we want to be treated ourselves. And then, thirdly, the one concept of our modern Western society, romantic love cult, also cages and infuses fear into the concept of a very unconditional and pure love. We're caging it in because we're saying only this person has to provide every single thing that we need out of a romantic relationship, and only this one person is the top one person, and only this one person deserves my love and gets my love. So there's a lot of pressure and a lot of caging and a lot of defying unconditional with putting conditions on love. And there's also a lot of fear attached to that. For example, like, what if I don't find that one? What if this one that I'm with right now isn't the one? What if, with the smallest kind of doubts that come up whenever you have a quarrel, whenever you disagree, and whenever you get the opportunity to learn from each other and grow with each other, you turn that into doubt, into critical thinking, and into switching into a mode where, this is too hard, that's not what love is supposed to be, it's supposed to be easy, let's just ditch that one and dive into the pool of infinite possibilities, into instant gratification, into instant and non-stop swiping, because there's always a better version, a better possibility out there. I'm not saying that if you're in a traumatic relationship with abuse that you should stay in there. I'm not also supplying any advice on how you should act in your life. I'm just thinking out loud here and proposing the fact that our culture and our society is circling around the concept of love being something that is disposable and then reintroduced with another person, when in fact love is an active concern for the life and growth of that which we love, like I said before. From the romantic love, if we go further, if this love is unconditional and if this love isn't divided but expansive, then that means that this premise of experiencing universal love is absolutely less utopian and more achievable that I would have ever really thought about it, because I was a firm believer that only if I experience the same love and respect for my environment, for the smallest bacteria on this planet. Only if you experience love for your surrounding and love for everyone, even the ones you don't agree with, especially for the ones you don't agree with, because they show you a mirror of something you rejected. They show you a mirror of some part of you that you yet have to explore if you feel it serves you in your own growth. Especially if someone is of another opinion, and that triggers within us hatred, that is just the most definite sign that you have something else to heal within you. So there is really no other way than experiencing universal love in everyday life with everyone, unless we shut ourselves out and make boundaries around our love, which love probably isn't supposed to have. I'm not saying here that there is an aspect of giving yourself up and loving unconditionally everyone. I'm just thinking that this is one part of a solution to make our world a better place, is giving love in the form of a smile, giving love in the form of compassion and respect, and saying, yeah, you just honked in me in traffic and you put some aggressive energy towards me, but I don't mind. I'm in love. And I know that you probably have a hard day. And I don't let that into my own energy field, because I love myself too. But I'm sending you love. And I hope that whatever the day brings for you is full of healing and joy and love. So it is partly an everyday decision, an act of love to experience universal love. And then also, additionally to that thought, the premise of conformity struck a really deep nerve within me, because all my life I've tried to dismiss who I am, because the outside has told me that I am wrong in the ways that I experience and express myself. From a very early age on, I always fulfilled roles with the people I was with. So depending on if it was my grandparents, if it was my parents, if it was the friends of my parents, it doesn't really matter. Anyone around me got the Nadine that they wanted to have. Obviously, I'm healing that constantly. But to me, that was a symptom of herd conformity. And that symptom of herd conformity then distorted my whole experience of sexuality, of relationships, and of how to cope and navigate the world around me, because I ended up being a drug addict. Because we have been retrained to view equality as being sameness, we in the same breath dismissed and dishonored who is different and who is unique, when in fact this is our superpower. We are a sentient species that can express itself and experience itself and its surroundings on a very deep and beautiful level. Out of that is born uniqueness, and out of that is born progress and growth. And progress and growth only come when you think differently, when you yourself trust yourself and trust that you will not be rejected just because you have a different view, just because you understood something another way, just because. What I'm trying to say is that the premise of conformity was one of the most intense lessons from this essay for me, is because I see so much hatred and anger, shame and guilt being born out of it, out of something that is so controversial to what we're supposed to be and do and live. Because we're all beautiful, we're all unique. And I know I say it every single episode, but that's because I know it. And I know that saving the world will not come from being the same as. I know that saving the world will come from exploring ourselves, our beautiful, kaleidoscopic, rainbow, cotton candy, unicorn, colorful, blended all the wonderful words in the world. Self. We have a light within that no one else has. We have something to give to this world that no one else can. And our society, from the age of 2 or 3, we start with school and we're never left alone with conformity until the day we die on our funeral, when people come there and mourn us or not mourn us and are talked about as though they knew us when in fact they didn't, because we don't know each other anymore. We don't know ourselves and we don't know each other. We are so ashamed and so full of guilt for who we are because we were taught to be. And this needs to end. We need to come out of victimhood and we need to start healing ourselves and getting to know ourselves, because that's our only chance of finding our own spark and igniting that beautiful, wonderful light again that has been dimmed by a structure and a system that destroys us. And it's not worth it either. No one is happy in that system of conformity. No one is really happy in it. It might be safe to think that we have a pension at the end of our life. It might be safe to think that we have a paycheck every month. It might be safe. And for some, they act through that system in the most healing and precious way. But we need to stop condemning each other. And we need to look closely on why would we condemn someone else when we ourselves haven't done the healing work yet. Which brings me to the third part that I want to emphasize and close this topic with. That's the practice of love and the practice of self-love. To me personally, when I started to envision this podcast, that was the intention behind. I wanted to bring my light to the table and spread love and spread a consciousness about how uniqueness is nothing to fear, and listening to each other and being compassionate to each other and trying to know ourselves better actually lets us grow into more compassionate people, because we understand the depth of trauma. Then we understand why we are the way we are, and we can then relate to other people. We understand that it's not just a maze, it's like a hundred dimensional maze of contradictions and beautiful fragments and specks of who we are, that once we get to know them and heal them, we can unite those parts of us and become whole again. And by becoming whole and living this truth and doing this great, honorable work, we emanate out that change. We emanate out healing. We infuse our surroundings with love and healing and compassion. And that is how we change realities. That is how we are creators of energies. We are experiencing energies and we are creators of energies. And by doing our own work on ourselves, we contribute to a change of the energy between each other and on a grand level, on a grand scheme of things on this planet. Because our planet has a magnetic field, and this magnetic field is energy. And what we send out, we will become. What we send out, we will receive. What we send out, our surrounding, our reality will be like. But for now, the practice of love starts with ourselves. The practice of love starts with looking closely into our own self, of feeling, of going through the fear, of going through the pain, of going through all the triggers, coming out the other side, and knowing that this brought growth, healing, self love, compassion, and made us a better version than we were yesterday. And lastly, I want to share a thought that I had come across last week by the Know Thyself podcast hosted by Daniel and Eduardo. And Daniel said something that really stuck with me since then. He said that the saying love is in the detail, the devil is in the details, is sort of wrong, because you can shorten it to the devil is the detail. Because underneath it all, it's very, very simple. Truth, love, and wisdom. Truth is your inner guidance, your inner compass, your inner needle that shows you the way to the north, the way to love. We might not always listen to it, we might not like where it points, what it wants us to go through, but the inner wisdom, the truth within, the knowing is there. We train it like a muscle, it gets bigger and it gets more discernible, more differentiated, more clear, more easy, more simple. And therefore, if the devil is the detail, love is no details. Love is simple. With that said, I hope you were able to get something out of this episode. I hope some of these thoughts resonate with you. I hope they contribute to your growth. I hope they contribute to your getting to know yourself better. I am looking forward to any comment, any mail from you out there to know if what I do here serves you. Please remember that sharing is truly caring, because what you go through and what you share will contribute in some way, form, or another to another person's struggle. And them knowing through reading your comment, for example, that they are not alone triggers something very special and very beautiful. I do see you, I do understand you, and I know it's not easy. Love is not beautiful all the time. Love is simple, yes, but that doesn't mean that we are a prophet from one day to another, being able to just spread out love all the time. Love can also trigger hate, and love can trigger a discussion and an argument. But the simple thing about love is that once we had our deep breaths and focus on our compass needle pointing northwards again, we see the way to go. I do wish you the very, very best for your journey. I send you healing, protective, loving light. I open my heart wide, wide open and send out all the love in it to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. And I love you. See you next time, my beloved fellow onions.